never talked to them boys that sat on them benches. I was in the game on 4th and inches.
I never talked to them boys that sit on them benches. I was in the game on 4th and inches. 4th and inches. What is going on? Florida State family, Seminole Nation, in the 863 tribe. It's your boy POLK, a.k.a. a.k.a. the Got Damn Truth. It's Wednesday, so you know what that means. It's the hangover. And that means we previewing the next game. We got the Wolfpack on the clock. Last week did not go how we wanted it to go, but it's a new week, it's a new day, and it's a new game. If they say styles make fights, Wake was always a bad style matchup. It's a bad stylistic matchup for most. I think NC State plays more our style of ball, but we'll see. We'll see how it works out. But before we get started, as always, hit that like button. Subscribe if you aren't subscribed. And share the video. Let people know we are live on a Wednesday night and we're doing what we always do. Hit the like button, subscribe, share the video. So obviously the topic of today will be NC State, but there is something that I am going to touch on. Sort of breaking news. Again, I don't break news here, but this is something I want to touch on because I'm seeing this on my Twitter feed. And I feel like this should be talked about. But before we dig into that, as always, let's hit a roll call real quick. And then I'm gonna talk about this breaking news, this interesting story, interesting development that has just popped up. I think it's worth a discussion. Chris Robinson says Orlando on the check-in in the building. No squad, Matthew Rosen. No blooded, Jamal M. Loading. Peter Shields, member at 863 Tribe. Priscilla Chestnut. Kenny Hayden. Briley. Insane Mob. Island Boy. Sane 305. Kenny, I'll say Kenny Hayden already, but that's okay. Kenny, you get 2 shout outs. FSU Rose, member at 863 Tribe. Right Way Right. Montre, Anthony Cheers, Irv Gotti, member at 863 Tribe, Hypnotic in the building. 23 people, man, hit that like button. Tyrone Oliver says, let's go Knowles. Continue to trickle through. Corey Hall in the building says 863 from the 813. Absolutely. Hillsboro in the building. Knowles squad. Then y'all can continue to trickle on through, and I'll continue to shout out. But I'm going to touch on the first topic. Again, this is sort of breaking here. If you remember, because I kind of made a big deal about this. I was not happy about this at the time that it happened. If you remember, Florida State come to find out they actually didn't take this commitment, and it was as much as talked about when it happened. But a young man, I would say in June, I believe, somewhere around there. I had even made a post about it. Jaren Wallace plays in Texas, wide receiver, 6'4", 190. He had posted a commitment. In fact, I'm on his profile page right now. I'll tell you exactly the day he committed to Florida State. May. So is it past May? I think it was in June. I'm trying to find it. I saw it earlier. Anyway, this young man, he commits to Florida State. And no tweet from Mike Norvell. No acknowledgement by anyone on the staff that he committed. So a lot of speculation was, well, did he commit? Was it a committable offer? I myself was a little aggravated, saying, why are we taking unranked wide receivers out of Texas when we have all this Florida talent that I felt like we should have been going after? Come to find out, it wasn't a committable offer. But apparently, Mr. Wallace and his family did not know that this offer was not committable. And today, an hour ago, he tweeted out, Florida State has chosen not to honor my commitment. Therefore, my recruitment is open. It's disappointing. However, I am excited about the opportunity to find a great place to further my educational career. It goes a step further. His coach gets on Twitter. I'm assuming this is his coach because it says @coach_Seymour. He tags Norvell, FSU, Chris Thompson, Ryan Bartow. So it looks like he tagged the people that recruited his player. He says Florida State made an offer to our receiver. He took an unofficial visit and he loved it. He committed the next day. I then received a call that the offer was not committable. They never communicated to me or Jaren prior to that the offer was not committable. Stop offering kids if they can't commit. He goes on to say, Jaren committed to Florida State. Jaren committed and Florida State isn't honoring the commitment. They subsequently sent him not one, but 2 official offer letters and still have chosen not to honor the commitment. They have done a poor job of communicating. I have asked that Coach Norvell call me, and he hasn't. I have asked that the staff call Jaren and his mom to communicate to them what I shouldn't have to. And that also has not happened. Very unprofessional way of doing things. He is currently leading the Metroplex in receiving. Someone will get a great kid and a great player. Now, I have thoughts, obviously, on this. I'm curious to know, what are your guys' thoughts? Now, we just got a 5-star receiver, a week or two ago. So I don't want to, how do I put this without being insensitive here? I am not here to be like, oh, the kid's trash and we shouldn't, this and that. That's not where I want to go with it. I was not happy when I saw the original commitment, I admit. I think it took all but a couple hours to figure out that it wasn't a committable offer by all of the Florida State fans and people who follow the program. I'm not sure why it took this long, or maybe they're just finally acknowledging the fact that it wasn't a committable offer. I guess my biggest question would be, I don't even know. I don't know. I don't really know how to go about this one. I want to come off as not being insensitive to the process because I understand how this can be disheartening to a commit. Matter of fact, I guarantee you, I'll do that because I am going to look up Jaren Wallace, his offers. I have a feeling. They aren't exactly. He doesn't exactly have a ton of offers. He's completely unranked, by the way. Like, he's got 0 stars. He has no ranking in the state of Texas, no ranking in the state of anywhere, no national ranking, no Texas ranking. He has an offer list of Boston College, Colorado, Florida State, Georgia State, Kansas State, Memphis, Nebraska, North Texas, Purdue, Sam Houston, UCF, Utah State, West Virginia, Wisconsin, and University of Texas, San Antonio. Actually, Wisconsin has not given him an official offer, actually. They're just recruiting him. Not the worst offer sheet I've ever seen. Florida State's undoubtedly the biggest school on that offer sheet. Followed by probably Wisconsin, maybe. It's a tough situation because I don't want to come again, not trying to come off as insensitive here. And if Florida State sent him, here's the thing. This could have been avoided if we just didn't recruit him in the first place. That's how I really feel like this. We shouldn't have been recruiting the young man in the first place. I hate to say it that way, but we shouldn't have been recruiting him in the first place. And then here we are. You obviously sent him a committable. 247 says you sent him a committable offer. The family says they got a committable offer. You sent them a committable offer. Were you not that confident in your wide receiver recruiting at the? Maybe you weren't. Maybe at that time you weren't that confident in your wide receiver recruiting at the time, and that was just a young man that you decided, if we whiff on all these other prospects, we'll give this guy a go. Listen, at the end of the day, this happens all the time. This isn't exclusively a Florida State thing, so let's not make it that. It's never a good look when a kid and a coach comes on and they do this, but this isn't exclusive to Florida State. It happens everywhere, and it happens at all the big time universities. But I think you can avoid these type of things if you just don't even recruit. And again, this is not to belittle a prospect, but just don't recruit these type of players. Not when the state of Florida is full of talent. You have no reason to recruit him. I was upset when he committed because I didn't understand why we were recruiting him in the first place. I watched his huddle. Sorry, not impressed. This isn't me trying to be a certain type of way. Just don't recruit the young man. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Especially in the state of Texas, like stick to your state. I'm not saying you can't recruit Texas. I'm saying don't recruit, because those type of recruits, those are the type of recruits that you try to use to ingratiate yourself within an area. Take a guy that's under the radar, but look, you got Hakeem. You got Vandarius is killing the season right now. I'm telling you, that guy's gonna be a 4-star before the end of this, before this thing is all said and done. So you got a 5-star receiver. I believe you got a 4-star receiver, and then you still got Goldie Lawrence, who's flirting with that 4th star as well. You probably are gonna add another guy. And for what I believe I hear, you're probably big game fishing. You're probably trying to convince a Jalen Brown to come back over. Do you really want to go all the way to LSU? We just beat these boys. Come back home. Like that's what you're probably doing here. Did you not believe you could do that before you offered this young man? So it's just a story to watch. It's just a interesting development. I thought it was worth a discussion. I'll get you guys comments here in a minute. I just think these kind of situations can be avoided. Especially when you're talking about a position that's in a talent-rich state. Now, if this was some kind of under-the-radar O-lineman or a guy in the trenches, I might can look at it and go, okay, I can see what you're trying to do there. Because O-linemen and D tackles and these DNs, I mean, look at Jared. Look at Jermaine Johnson. Jermaine Johnson was not a huge prospect coming out of high school. Obviously, Jared Verse, same thing. A lot of these guys have these growth spurts, and then they become. So I could understand that, but a wide receiver who, again, you shouldn't have put yourself in this position. But it's not something that you really need to gripe on. It's just, again, an interesting development that I thought was worth talking about. as it just popped up, and it's just news within the last hour or so. So it kind of makes you look like, but I think they should have figured out when he committed and Mike Norvell didn't acknowledge the commitment. I think the writing was on the wall there, right? But I'll see what you guys have to say. Maybe not a big deal. First of all, let me get that out of the way, right? Not a big deal. This doesn't do anything. It's just something worth noticing. Just go to the comment section real quick. I see Boxing Monster in the building. 863 Tribe. Montre has showed up. Jack Orlando in the building. Enzo, our resident Louisville/Florida State fan. Man, Zay Flowers did kill y'all, man. Kenny says, I agree, Polk. Now that makes us look bad. Tara in the building. 863 Tribe. This is BS. Kid can commit and rescind at will, which is fine. And the coach knows that. Committable versus non-committable offers are just jargon on a piece of paper. A fair point, Bradley. Fair point. There is nothing official until the school sends you something to sign. Fair point. This is much ado about nothing and a bit of sour grapes, and these been recruited over. They probably shouldn't have been recruited from the beginning, but every point you made is absolutely legit. The same way we get, what did Travis Hunter, I hate to bring him up, but what did Hunter do to us last year? String us along just to throw the hat at the end of it all, right? I mean, this happened. This is recruiting. This is recruiting. Currently stationed over here in Japan. I love watching. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. I've always wanted to get stationed there. Now I got kids and stuff, so probably don't need to be stationed over there. Who knows? But I still one day want to go to Japan, man. Still one day I want to go over there. Don't forget Dustin Hill. When he was first contacted, we were in a very different position. Even then, I didn't think that's a guy that you should have been. But again, another valid point. Briley's on fire today. We didn't start recruiting him last week. This started when we were in the middle of last year's up and down season. I believe FSU is too precise to offer a no-star recruit. I wouldn't go that far. I think you can always find gems. It's all about scouting. It's all about, sometimes if you can shear up that unranked guy, that guy can turn into something. So I wouldn't go that far. You don't need to chase stars. It's all about scouting. Stars matter. Stars matter. Don't get it twisted. Stars matter. But also scouting matters. With that said, if just the average Joe, which I am, can watch it and go, what is the scouting? Are you just maybe you're enamored by some of his measurables? Possible. Is this about the deer? Yes, it is. Florida State love in the building. Member 863 Tribe. Panama Jack. I ain't forget about that hat thing either. What hat thing? What are you talking about? What hat thing? Not a big deal except for no communication. If he's not a take, at least tell him. So I agree. I do agree there. If what they're saying is true, just tell them, look, man, we're interested in you. We would love to, potentially have you, but you're not I think transparency is the best thing you can do in recruiting. Just tell a kid, look, we interested, man, but we got bigger fish. And if that is something that bothers you, completely understandable. I have a hard time believing that conversation did not happen. But maybe it didn't. Maybe it did. Yeah, we have. Exactly. We've recruited them. So we definitely recruited. No, I definitely think, no, I ain't going to Japan. But I would still like to go one of these days. So that's it, man. I just wanted to bring that up. As you see, most of y'all don't. We're all kind of on the same page, man. It's not a big deal. It is what it is. Camden Fryer is going to be a 5-star. Camden Fryer is pretty good from what I've watched. I don't know if he reaches 5-star status, but he's pretty good. So let's get to the meat and potatoes of tonight, and that is the NC State Wolfpack and how we match up and what can we expect. And let's run over some stats real quick. And as I glance over comparing Florida State and NC State, Florida State, in a lot of ways, man, is so look, Devin Leary has thrown for 1,135 yards on we'll say 63 completion percentage. He's at 62.8. So we'll round that up at an average of 6.6 yards per attempt, 10 TDs, 3 interceptions. If you compare that to Jordan Travis, he's at 1,226 with 66% completion percentage at 65.9. So we'll round that up to 66. 10 yards a pass, 9.7 actually. So we're rounding that up. 8. And I'm actually pissed off that I see this one interception here. He has 8 TDs and what should be no interceptions, man. The man has been a model of consistency in taking care of the football. If I would have told you 5 games into the season, about to play your 6th, that Jordan Travis would be outplaying Devin Leary, would anybody have believed that? I'm not sure anybody would have believed that up until this point. I'm not sure anybody would have believed that. FSU has, or seems to have, the advantage of quarterback. Here's another crazy stat. The man, Devin Leary's been sacked 7 times. Without Googling, how many times do y'all think Jordan Travis has been sacked this year? Without Googling, how many times do y'all think Jordan Travis has been sacked this year? No guesses. Some of y'all Googled. I can tell y'all Googled. Because some of y'all said 3. Yes, 3. That man's been sacked 3 times compared to Devin Leary's 7. Has Florida State not played the stiffer competition up until this point? We're just looking at raw numbers here, folks. Raw stats. Now, to be fair, Tate Rodemaker's been sacked 3 times as well. So as a total, FSU's given up 6 sacks on their quarterbacks. NC State's given up 7 to their quarterbacks. All of them by Devin Leary. But I got to say, the fact that Jordan Travis, and we've watched Jordan Travis this year, let's not pretend like this guy's been scrambling all over the field, running the ball like crazy. Jordan Travis hasn't been running the ball at all, really, this year. So 3 sacks to 7. Looks like FSU has the nod here. Then you go to the running game. We got their leading rusher has 262 yards. Our second leading rusher has 278 yards. Trayshawn Ward has 437. Overall, Ren, we have the better offense. Point blank, period. Better quarterback play. Looks like we have a better running game. As a team, they have ran for 664 yards and 6 touchdowns. As a team, Florida State has ran for 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. Then, of course, you go to receiving. Their leading receiver has only 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Our leading receiver has 357 yards and 3 touchdowns. We've played a better schedule than NC State. Now, NC State has this Clemson game, but that's by far the hardest game they've played. I am so intrigued by these numbers offensively. Now, where NC State starts to really make up ground in the conversation becomes defensively. If you go to like their team on defense, man, they are one of the, statistically, again, raw numbers, they got one of the better defenses in the country. Just off of numbers. Again, had they played any dynamic offenses? Have they played? I don't know if they have. I don't know if they've played any dynamic offenses to really gauge that. But I'll say this. A lot of hype is made around NC State's defensive line, and I think for a decent reason. As a unit, as a team, as a defense, they have 7 sacks on the season. Again, without Googling, how many sacks do you think Florida State has had on the season as a team? JT on PEDs. What's up, Tyler? Morris is 10 to 12. More. We've doubled their sack total. Believe it or not, we've doubled their sack total, which is crazy. We've doubled their sack total. We have 14 sacks. They have 7. Yet they have the hyped up defensive line, and our defensive line is, it's Verse has 4 alone. Patrick Payton, I think, is second on. Well, Deloach actually has 2.5. Patrick Payton has 2. Joshua Farmer has 1. We have 14 sacks as a defense. They're considered one of the best defensive lines. Now, they might not necessarily have the edge rushers. What NC State does is they put Corey Durden and C.J. Clark and these big defensive tackles. They play the 3-man front. So they play a little different style of football. But they're not a team that generates a lot of sacks. What they do is generate a lot of interceptions. They have 7 interceptions on the season. So they generate some turnovers. Believe it or not. But they don't generate a lot of fumbles. Only 3 fumbles, and only 2 have been recovered. So they have some, looks like they have some ball hawks. Look like they have some ball hawks where we only have 3 interceptions. I said this earlier. Styles make the matchups. We always kind of thought we didn't really match up stylistically because not a lot of teams match up stylistically with the Wake Forest. Wake Forest just is a bad style matchup for everybody. Clemson, you'll see it when Wake Forest plays NC State. And I'm not saying Wake Forest are going to win all these games. Obviously, they're not. But stylistically, it's a tough matchup. I am not worried about the style of ball that NC State plays. Remember what I said our biggest problem was against Wake Forest? Was that we didn't win our one-on-one matchups? Well, that's what this game is going to come down to. And it's going to have less to do about the style of game that NC State plays. And the fact is, can you line it up and win your matchups? And what personnel is Florida State going to rock with? That's what this stuff is going to come out to. I'm not the biggest fan of PFF grades. I'm more so a fan of just seeing what my eyes see and who's playing better. But a guy like Daniel Lyons has been, as a true freshman, has been one of your better players on the inside. Joshua Farmer is grading out as your best interior defensive lineman. Last week, it started to show. He got a sack last week. It started to show. I have no idea what Patrick Payton's grading out as. And I really don't care because when I watch, he's the best. When Verse isn't in the game, 56 is the best defensive end on the field. And those two should be your starting bookends, in my opinion. So when I talk about personnel, this is the stuff I'm talking about. Do we start? I understand that maybe you don't move D-Mac to the bench, but D-Mac's snaps come down a little bit. They should be playing more even snaps than what we've been seeing. Patrick Payton has started to earn that. Leonard Warner probably don't need to be playing as much. You need to shore up that defensive tackle rotation. I think we're kind of rotating too many guys. Not all the guys are healthy. Well, with Joshua Farmer playing better and Daniel Lyons playing better, maybe Malcolm Ray can take a break. Maybe Coop can get some of his snaps down so he can be more effective when he's in the game. A lot of these things need to happen. These are the things that I think are going to be kind of pivotal in this NC State game. That's just on the defensive side of the ball. We haven't even touched the secondary. I'm just reading some comments. Daddy. I knew it. Yes, sir. Briley says we need to get. What do you want, sir? We really need to get our running backs. Okay, I'm reading these comments while trying to deal with Buddy, who I knew it was a matter of time. Yeah, Durden's still there, man. But again, so was Coop, and we still got guys here too. So, do I think Lovett will play? I think so. There is a clip or like a still shot of Lovett practicing. I hope he plays. I would love to see the rotation of Lovett, Coop, Farmer, Lyons, and I think you still put Jarrett Jackson in that rotation. But I think you need to shore up that rotation a little bit, maybe stop rotating too many bodies and start to shore up some of that. I would like to see Fabo come back. I don't know. You know, his injury has been the one that they've kind of kept the most under wraps. So I don't know. How does our kicking game match up? Somebody says no, 0 was the freshman that's ineligible. Maybe it was. I don't know. I just saw 0. If it was him, then maybe Lovett ain't playing. I'm going with the Mike Norvell philosophy. If we play our game and eliminate the penalties and poor execution we had in the weight game, we will beat NC State. Jeff says play Ray over 12. Play 99 over 12. I don't know. I don't think 99's all the way healthy. And I don't know, man. When I'm watching the game, I think some guys have just played better than really both of those guys, to be honest with you. Daniel Lyons and Joshua Farmer, I think, have played better. Farmer started off shaky in that Louisville game, but he's turned it around since. I don't know if we see Winston Wright. And then if we go to the secondary, I don't know, man. Is Marion Cooper healthy? Because if he's not, stop putting him out there, man. Stop putting him out there. Again, when I talk about this personnel and who plays and where you should put them, I agree with you, actually. If Duke's not healthy, Duke shouldn't be playing. Put 20 out there. You know, Shaheem Brown, his name has been mentioned a few times in the chat. I think Shaheem is a guy. Him and Brandon Gant, when you need a sort of in the box guy, but you don't want to put Lundy out there in these passing situations, Shaheem and Brandon Gant should be the guys playing in those situations. Shaheem just has a knack for the ball, and he's not scared to hit, and he's gonna be around the football when something happens. You know, Lundy was doing fine when, again, Bethune was healthy, because you could limit the times you needed Lundy on the field. Well, last week, Bethune didn't play a whole lot of snaps in that first half, and you saw we got the same Lundy we've been seeing for the last couple years, right? The same Lundy I keep telling y'all, he's not a modern-day linebacker. Even with the lost weight, you still see it. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. It has nothing really to do with his weight, which I've always tried to explain with DJ Lundy. Nothing to do with his weight and everything to do with his hips. Not everybody just has the hips, and it's okay. It is what it is. In those passing situations, maybe start rotating some of those safeties in there, whether that's Brandon Gant, whether that's Shaheem Brown. I would like to see that. In those running situations, I'm all for Lundy. The linebackers as a whole played their worst game. They didn't diagnose the run fits very well, and so they were shooting the wrong gaps in the run game against Wake Forest. Again, but that comes with that stylistic matchup where I don't think you'll have the same problem against NC State. I don't think you'll have the same problems against NC State. But the personnel. I keep harping on personnel because I believe, regardless of what other people may believe, that you're looking at a team that does have talent and does have depth. They just have to want to play it. You just have to want to play it. You know what I'm saying? You have to want to play these guys. I'm watching Leonard Warner. I don't want to pile on Leonard Warner, but you can't convince me that Aaron Hester can't give you what Leonard Warner's giving you. I understand he might not know all the calls. You might not know the entire playbook. But Leonard Warner can't get off a block. So what purpose is he really serving you? Going up there doing what? Eating up snaps. I'm not one of these people that tell you to play. I don't think this team is at the point where they need to be playing a bunch of freshmen. But I do think there's a reason why Leonard Warner has been in college 6-7 years. There's a reason. You know, we are getting Amari Gaynor back. I think they said Amari Gaynor's a full-time go in practice. So it'll be interesting to see how they utilize him. Will they be using him as a pass rusher? Will they, it'd be interesting to see what Gaynor's role is coming back to this defense as a linebacker or a edge rusher. Do they blitz him? So all that stuff would be very interesting. But again, man, I don't need to see Leonard Warner, man. It is what it is. Like, I don't need to see it. I've seen it enough. Get Byron Turner out there. He's not a true freshman. Aaron Hester is, what about Dante Anderson? Like, we got some guys. Don't be scared to play them. And that leads me to the offensive side of the ball. And the biggest thing that I've continued to say, Darius Washington is another one. Hold on, guys. I got a text message. Darius Washington has been at this school for 4 years now, or 5 years, whatever it's been. He's been here. It's unfortunate, but Darius Washington suffers from what I've been saying I've been wanting to avoid, and that's playing guys too early, right? He just he's suffered injuries, played too early, which all has stunted his growth. How long are you going to keep Julian Armella? And I know that might sound hypocritical. Well, why do you want to play Armella if you don't want to play in Darius Washington? Here's two reasons why the Darius Washington situation and the Julian Armella situation is different. Darius Washington and Donta Lucas and guys like that, they suffered from, unfortunately for them, they suffered from a situation where they were forced. They had no coach. Willie Taggart, he had no choices but to play those freshmen. He didn't have any other options. The O-line was in that terrible of shape. They had no other options but to play guys like Darius Washington and Donta Lucas that early. They had no options. So from day one, those guys were on the field, and you could see how stunted every aspect of their game. It's just stunted their growth. They were not players who were ready to play at that moment, but unfortunately had no choice but to play at that moment. But the biggest difference between Darius Washington and Julian Armella is not only is Armella hasn't had to play from day one, so he's had a chance to sit, learn. But here's the biggest difference. They're different caliber athlete. They're different caliber. Darius Washington was a 600th ranked offensive line or overall player. Darius Washington wasn't a high ranked guy coming out of that Pensacola area. Julian Armella is a top 150 kid. Darius Washington came out of high school 280. Julian Armella has been as big as 330 pounds, lost weight, and came back 3 plus in the offseason. They're different caliber of player. Okay? So it might sound like, oh, you do. No. They're different caliber of player. One guy hasn't had to play. He's had a chance to learn some, develop some, but they're different. There's just different levels to this. Armella can play if you need him to play. There are different levels to this. Armella reminds me, I'm not saying they're the same type of player. I'm saying when you talk about caliber of player, Armella situation reminds me of Rod Johnson. How Rod Johnson, as a true freshman, they waited till game 6, 7. Then they moved Cam Irvin to center. And they threw Rod back out there at that left tackle spot. And then that offensive line got to clicking at that moment. I think you could do something very similar with Armella. You might not have to move anybody to center or nothing like that. But there's a good chance you don't have to rush. I might not have to rush Scott back. But unfortunately, Darius is going to have to hit the bench. I think we're reaching that time in game 6, coming up here game 7. We're reaching that good time where I think if you're going to play Julian, now is the time. Don't hype him up for an entire offseason and then tell me he can't play. Oh, he can play. He can play. So that's what I think. I think he can play. Boxing says time to play Armella. Maybe a few snaps, but our right tackle was awful. Both tackles were awful, left and right. I think Fuller needs to move our D-line / linebackers around on twists, slants, and blitzes. I've noticed our defense played better against Wake when our D-line wasn't statues taking on blocks. Washington is soft. I've been saying it. Really got to try to hold Armella to Georgia Tech. It would be devastating to O-line growth to have him go down. Throwing him in against the best D-lineman we'll face isn't smart. Also, McClendon was playing bad. He just isn't giving you anything. Washington is a cautionary tale for Armella. What's up, Randy? One thing is why we have Greedy out there when I know we have better DBs to cover. Well, who would you put out there? I've thought about depending on how good or bad Amarion Cooper continues to play or how healthy or unhealthy he is, trying Knowles on the edge and AZ in the slot. I thought about mixing some things up. I don't know. Vance is Grady Vance has actually been solid in spots. He got muscled on that one play there. Marcus Lewis says facts. Armella wasn't an early enrollee. He didn't get that training off season. You can't keep doing the same thing. I just don't agree that. But Armella's again, he's not Darius Washington. He's not Darius Washington. Again, there's just different levels to this. And not everybody has to be an early enrollee. Amarion Cooper wasn't an early enrollee last year. But by this time last year is when he started playing ball. By this time last year is when he started starting games. I understand the cautionary tale of the offensive line because I've said it myself. But I'm not saying throw Kania Charlton out there or Dontre Richardson. I'm saying throw a top 150 guy out there. If he makes it, we might be having a different discussion. Move Turnkey to guard, put Armella at tackle, and Darius is just a placeholder until Scott gets healthy. Darius can continue to be your sort of swing O lineman, use him where needed. We must don't have another kicker, bro. I don't even care to talk about it. At this point, you kind of know we don't have a kicker. Remember, Parker Grothus, he left the team. He transferred. That was our other kicker. Turn team missed a lot of turn team. Neither tackle played well last week. It's funny that it happened to Landon. But Dickerson got to Bama and all of a sudden got healthy. There's a lot there with Landon Dickerson. And a lot of people believe by the end of Landon Dickerson's tenure at Florida State, it had a little less to do with injury and just the fact that he didn't want to play in the situation that he was in. He wasn't feeling that coaching staff at that time. Landon Dickerson made it to the NFL. So if that's the model we're talking. A little different. Yeah, you just brought my point. Then he went to Bama and all of a sudden he was great. Dickerson, I don't know, not the best example there because there's more to that situation than just him being hurt. Anyone see the War Chant video of Fitz missing kicks? Nope, didn't watch it. Don't care to watch it. At this point, we know what Fitzgerald is. I don't need to talk about it. Ain't no other kicker coming to save us, folks. We just got to deal with the fact that our kicker sucks this year. And they better, again, you get past the 50, you better just go 4 straight. I don't know how long Mike's going to cling on to kickers. Hopefully not too long. The backup kicker makes more kicks than Fitz. So the backup kicker is also a walk-on. So I guess I can't even be mad at the backup, right? He ain't on scholarship. This other guy is. So again, I don't really care too much about the kicker position. What I do care about is getting the proper guys on the field, man. Let me be clear. Ultimately, I'm not even saying that you have to play Julian. I'm just saying there's no reason why it shouldn't be an option at this point. No reason why it shouldn't be an option. We've watched Jared Verse this year be unblockable when he's in games. By the way, he's in full go this weekend, which is great. The man played 12 snaps last week and had 2 sacks. Completely dominated LSU, so on and so forth. Why do I bring that up? From all I heard about in practice is Julian Armella held his own against Jared Verse more than just a little bit, to the point where people were questioning, can Jared Verse really play? Because if a true freshman can hold you, how good are you? And all of that has ceased. That question ain't getting answered no more or getting asked no more. So again, I'm not saying that you have to throw Julian out there, but Julian should be an option. And again, this isn't a situation where you're throwing a project out there because you have no other options. You're throwing out there a legit player. LSU finished second in Julian Armella's recruitment. LSU ended up starting a freshman tackle out there. You don't think Julian Armella would have been in the mix for some other offensive line spot? LSU's offensive line was a patchwork to start the beginning of the season. Armella would have been a great asset for them, and he probably cracks their starting rotation if he had committed to that school and gotten the chance. Is my point. My point is, man, if Armella's ready, from all that offseason hype, from what I heard, I don't know. I'm not saying you got to throw him out there, but it should be an option. I know nothing about a 5-star kicker, but if he's the guy, I don't know why Mike is waiting. I would love, what, there ain't no more Guayo brothers sitting out there somewhere, better find one. Getting hurt slowed Dickerson's development. That's not debatable. True freshman linemen, regardless of physical ability, are susceptible to injury, and if they're hurt, the development always suffers. But again, for every Landon Dickerson, I can give you a Rod Johnson. For every Landon Dickerson, I can give you Bobby Hart, who played as a true freshman all the way to being a senior. Again, Bradley, I don't disagree with you about, but when the level of athlete is a little different, these guys can play. Bobby Hart was a pretty sought after tackle coming out of high school. Rod Johnson, pretty high sought after tackle coming out of high school, is my point. Again, I'm not saying throw Kanai Charlton out there. He's a project, a long-term project. Dante Richardson's a project, another long-term. I ain't saying throwing Quayshawn Sapp or none of those. I'm saying throw your guy who's the top 150 guy in the entire country. One website, which I don't agree with, but it's worth noting. One website said he was the best tackle in the entire country. Again, Armella's not just some guy. Oh, and his dad played offensive line for Florida State, so he's a purebred. He's a thoroughbred. Who's in better shape right now? Robert Scott or Lovett? Probably, I don't know, man. I don't think either guy's in a lot of shape. I watched Scott's little practice warm-ups. He don't look like he's too. I don't know. And that's why I think it's. Hey, that's why I think. That's why I think like Armella's got to be an option. I guess I posed the great question. Do you just continue to throw Turrentine and you just want to continue to throw Turrentine and Darius out there and hope for the best? Is like, do we just want to do that and hope? Let's just hope they get it together. Or do we try to do something else and try to fix the problem? Do we just live off blind faith, or do we actually try to do something and solve the problem? I get that's where I'm at with it. How much of this do we need to watch before we try to do something else? Now, they're in practice every day with Julian. So if they feel that Julian's not ready, then by all means, don't put him out there. They're the coaches, and I trust what Atkins is going to try to do. I watch Darius Washington, and I'm trying to say, I don't know how good Julian Armella is. He can't be much worse. That's just how I feel, though. But again, I'm not in practice watching this stuff. You don't have to play Armella the whole game, but you can use him in certain pass protection systems. Just use him and see, can he be effective? That's just me, though. I say facts. We need another Aguayo. I need to find something out there. But ultimately, man, I think we match up well. I think NC State runs just the way they play football matches, how we, again, talk about these styles. NC State doesn't do anything that I'm worried about. I mean, look at last year with no quarterback play. We're in that game, right? Just go to the tape. Now, I get it. We've seen him against Duquesne and we've seen him against Boston College, right? I get it. But when he's been in, he hasn't looked like he's been out of place, like he doesn't know the plays. I mean, we in the mix. We in the mix. Or he's in the mix, should I say. Now, with that said, I like how we match up. NC State's a good team. I still think I still don't believe in them. I don't believe in the hype. But that all goes out the window, right? If we lose this Saturday. I think we match up extremely well. I think it all comes down to, can we block them? If we can block them, I believe we beat them. Does Turrentine have a better game? Does Darius have a better game? Or do they do like I'm asking and go into the depth chart and try to figure some things out? But something's got to shake because we got to be able to block them. I probably wouldn't put Scott out there, be honest with you. I personally probably wouldn't even put Scott out there. I don't know if an injured Scott is any better than throwing Darius Washington out there or something like that. If Scott ain't ready to play, don't throw him out there because you still going to need him for guess who? Clemson. Clemson's got the better D-line, and you still going to need him for Clemson. So if we can block him, we can beat him. With Jarrett, I feel pretty confident defensively if with Jarrett Verse playing. I love it probably doesn't play, but if you can shore up your interior, then I like what you can do there. Don't rotate as many guys, right? Give me Scott, Lyons, Farmer. Did I say Scott? I meant Cooper, Lyons, Farmer, maybe Jarrett Jackson in that rotation. I think where we kind of got in trouble with Wake is you start rotating a gazillion guys, and guys are so concerned with making a play that they don't even. I forgot about Briggs too. That's another thing you do. Throw Briggs inside. That's a good point, Briley. Throw Briggs inside. Put Patrick Payton on that starting opposite of Jarrett Verse. That's a damn good 1-2 punch. Patrick Payton, I'm telling you guys right now, if you haven't watched it, Patrick Payton is a redshirt freshman. The guy's got star written all over him. He's got things that you can't teach and you can't coach. Natural athletic bend off the edge. You can't coach it. It's just what he is and what he has. As he gets bigger and stronger, you have star in the making and Patrick Payton. I'm so excited to see Patrick Payton because he's a guy that I've always been high on and been clamoring to see. Move Briggs inside where he's been more effective. And you can, again, personnel usage, man, is so key to me. You put the right guys in there, which I believe we have the right guys. I believe we have the right depth or good enough depth. To me, it's just about putting it in position to make the plays, putting it in the game. Take some of these, you're giving guys snaps that's giving you bad snaps. Take Leonard Warner out the game. I hate to say it like that. Probably shouldn't be playing at all. At all. Take Malcolm Ray out the game. Whether that's because of health or because he just ain't getting it done, he just ain't getting it done. But when you keep rotating all these guys, you get some unwanted, you just get unnecessary or lack of production, I know they had high hopes for D-Mac, you feel me? But guess what? D-Mac ain't getting it done. The freshman's getting it done. Maybe you make the move. So that's just how I feel there. We'll get here. We'll predict this score here in a minute, but I'm going to read a few more comments before we do that. I dare to say our offense is better than Clemson's. I believe we've better skill set. If our O-line gets healthy, I like our offense as one of the top 3 offenses probably in the ACC, to be honest with you. POLK, haven't we scored on every scripted opening drive this year? I think we have. I think if we continue that, then we should only need 2 more scores to win this game. Stop the penalties as well. Last week was probably our worst week for penalties by far. Go back to playing clean football, and I think we're fine. Please move Briggs inside. He's giving us nothing on that edge. We are not worried about Clemson for now. 1 game at a time. Peyton has matrix level bend. Hope we don't see those terrible penalties. Sorry, again, Corey says, hey, if he a 4 or 5 tech with Ben, play him. Might not contain be what the hell Kaya might not. He probably, if you're talking about Pat, he could definitely get better in his containing the edge on the run game, but kind of like so could Verse though, right? If we're being honest, Verse ain't the best at that either because he's so athletic. They just have that mindset, but just affect the play. Because what we've seen up until the Wake Forest game, what we have seen is Tatum Bethune and Kalen DeLoach, they've been able to clean up everything on the back end. That the defensive line gets a little bit over aggressive. Well, the linebackers they've been able to clean up on the back end. Give me aggressiveness over what I'm getting out of Leonard Warner and some of these other guys. That's just me though. Yeah, we have. Percentage of us winning the next 2 games, bro. I'm still on like 50% for like to me every game's 50%. Not every game, but some of these more competitive games is still for me 50%. I don't think like I even go back and watch Wake and I say if we do some of the things we should have did, we win that game. Should have won that game. I'm just not impressed by anybody on the schedule, man. 50% is probably the wrong answer there, but as far as I'm concerned, 50. We got a 50% chance to win both of these games. What I just need them to do is figure out a way to win one. If you recall, when I said I thought this team would go 9-3, what were the games I said? I said you would split Wake and Louisville. Well, what have you done? You split Wake and Louisville. You would split NC State and Clemson, and you would split one of the rivals, Florida and Miami. And I stand on that. And I still think if you can do those things, you can still go 9-3. So I stand on that. So far, they're holding pat to what I believe. We'll see what they do at NC State this weekend. I think they should do it. Last year's game was so frustrating, but we had because Milton was terrible. But that's my point. You look at last year's game, I believe NC State was a better team last year than what I've seen this year. And we're obviously a better team than last year. So as far as I'm concerned, man, we in there, man. We in there. I'm sorry, but I hear you. I don't disagree. Mickey Andrews played an aggressive defense. Fuller's more bend but don't break. Just keeping it 100. FNC State, go Tigers. And we got your boy LJ. I guess we had a Clemson fan in the building. Here we go. The defensive genius stuff. We couldn't block them last year and kept it respectable, more weapons, and I think we still have a puncher's chance. So as I think about this game, well, those are 2 different games. They're no squad. Those 2 games played out very drastically different. Now, if you tell me that this game will resemble LSU, I kind of agree with that. I think this game could definitely resemble LSU. But the Louisville game, that was a back and forth scoring. I don't know. I'm not too big on NC State's offense like that. So I think somebody said it earlier. I don't quite remember. You held you held Wake to 31. For mostly you held Wake to 28 points through 4 quarters, and they got a late field goal. I'm not so sure NC State. I see No Squad with the 28-24 prediction. That's a solid prediction because I think NC State might score 3 touchdowns. And if they do that, I'm pretty confident we find a way to score more than 3 touchdowns. I haven't quite decided on a score prediction here, but I don't see it being like a 30-something to 30-something game or anything like that. It was 28-14 last year. I'm thinking, man. Yeah, they averaging 18 points against the Power 5. Like I'm thinking we can win this game like 27-20 or something like that. That's gonna be my prediction. The reason I always do this is because I almost guarantee you Fitz is gonna miss an extra point. So I got 27-20. I think we could hold them to 2 touchdowns and a couple field goals, to be honest with you. I'm just not, and as I say this, we go in there this weekend and Leary looks the best he's looked all season. Let's hope not, but that's Florida State luck, right? But I don't know, man. If Verse is playing and that offensive line is giving up 7 sacks, so Verse is gonna get to the quarterback. I think Patrick Payton can get to the quarterback. Man, I just think we can have some success here. I know their defense is supposed to be fairly good, but I like my offense. I like my offense against most teams on the schedule. I got 27-20, guys. 27-20. No 850. He's got 35-21. I think Fuller holds in the 8 points. Boy, if you don't, man, you don't even look, man. Shut that up. I want to hear that shit. You don't get out of here with that. I'll tell you right now, if Fuller holds NC State to 8 points, I will take one of those Hennessy Pure White bottles to the head Saturday night on the instant reaction. Like, just take it. I'll probably kill myself in the process, but I'll do it if he can hold him to 8 points. I'll do it. 31-17 Knowles. Man, you guys on these predictions again. I like this one, Ardavius. I think that's a solid prediction. Yeah, that was my prediction right there. So I'm with you. Yeah, that's what I'm saying too, Irv. Well, yeah, absolutely. If we win this game, I don't care if we win the game 20-17. I don't care if we win the game by 3 points or a point. You beat NC State, you're going to be right back in the rankings. You're going to be right back in the rankings. I just think that these kids can play better when you turn them loose. I'm not saying forget the fundamentals, but damn, let the kids use their skills. Close poke, I've got it 27-17. FSU scores late to stretch the margin on an otherwise close game. Okay, so you think, what did I say, 27-20? So you think we hold them to under 20 points? I hear you. Not a bad prediction. I hope it don't come down to a field goal. And Ardavius, Irv likes your prediction. I agree with that. When you start the season off ranked that high, yeah, that's the only reason why you rank. Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I hope they figured something out offensively down in that game. Don't want to talk too much about those guys down there in Coral Gables. But if they didn't figure out something offensively, that they might, what is that? It's going to be like 3 or 4 straight years they've lost to North Carolina. Who would have thought? I kind of hope they win just because this thing, actually, I hope they lose. And not even because it's Miami. I hope they lose because Twitter and social media is going to be so amazing. If who would have thought that Mario in year 1 would lose 3 straight games, that being North Carolina, Middle Tennessee, and Texas. The entertainment's going to be so fun for me to just participate in if they lose 3 straight under the great Messiah from Cuba who came in on the banana boat. Like, just amazing. If that happens, just absolutely amazing. Just absolutely amazing. I hear you. I'm so excited to watch that freshman embarrass those boys in front of all 34 fans. It's 11-1 though. 11-1 though. Who's 11-1? What you talking about? ACC champs. I would love it. I would love it. Can't wait to beat Miami again. That's right. Clemson and Miami do play. They do play the Banana Bowl winners. Super Mario. That junk's looking real Willie-esque, don't it, Jeff? That situation down there look kind of Willie-esque, don't it? Them boys went from having a Heisman contender at quarterback to what happened? Boy was benched. The sad part is they so worried about that offense. Nobody talks about that defense, and that Kevin Steele is the same defensive coordinator that was at Clemson that gave up 70-something points to West Virginia in a bowl game. As a matter of fact, Kevin Steele and his performance at Clemson is the reason they went and got Brett Venables. That's how bad Kevin Steele was. Nobody talks about that, though. I haven't heard one person talk about that or mention that. Steele was so bad at Clemson. That's why they paid all that money for Venables, because they was like, hold up, wait a minute. We need a real defensive coordinator here. But for some reason, they so worried about what Gaddis is doing on offense, they just forgot that you got to play defense. But anyways, man, what are your thoughts on Syracuse right now? They are legit, or they have just been lucky? I think they're a better team than expected. Got to wait for them to play some of the better teams, though, on their schedule. Of course, now it's taint expectations. Cuban Jesus ain't doing too much Jesus-ing, is he? Just tapped in what's happening, Mr. H. We have to wrap and run our feet on defense. We absolutely can't take Pokes off the board. It's going to be a hostile environment. 21-28. NC State beats us by 3. That's not a good look to give up 31 points to NC State, a team that hasn't put up 31 points against any Power 5 school yet this year. Or what was the stat someone said? They only averaging 18 points against Power 5 schools. So I don't like that, but that's your prediction. What happens if FSU wins the next 2 for ACC standings? Who wins? It's going to all be about who beats who. So, like, man, it's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting because Clemson has beaten Wake, but Wake beat us. Let's say we beat NC State, and then this kind of round robin continues. I don't know, man. We'll have to wait till those records shape out and see who gets what. There's rumbles in Miami of voluntary redshirting to preserve eligibility. Bro, this is the last thing I'm gonna say on Miami, to be honest. And this is just a fact. They're going to go through what every first year. Look, it was all peaches and cream because that's what happens when you first bring in a coach and he's coming home and these Miami kids want to play for the Miami guy. Well, guess what's now being realized? Not everybody fits what Mario wants to do. There is going to be transfers. There's going to be guys that those fans think are really good players who are going to leave that program because they don't fit what's being asked of them. They are going to have their transfers. And they're gonna have a couple names that aren't gonna make people happy down there, whether that's a Jake Garcia or a TVD or whoever. They're gonna have the transfers. All that stuff's gonna happen. Mario's gonna need his 2-3 years to get it done. The good news is Miami's not gonna be in any position to fire Mario Cristobal. They are going to allow him to take however long it takes. The bad news is will he win some games? Absolutely. He can recruit. We know this. Mario's always been a mediocre coach at best. And that all-star staff is a bunch of names. No real production there. Gaddis, oh, great. Broyles Award winner. What has he ever done? Who's he ever produced? Who's in the NFL off of a Gaddis offense? I couldn't tell you. They don't exist. Steele's a name from 10 years ago. Again, when's the last time Kevin Steele's actually been a good defensive coordinator? He's just a name. Charlie Strong, that would have been a great name 10 years ago. Jason Taylor, that's a cool name. Former NFL player, Hall of Famer potentially. Can he coach a lick at the college level? Who the pass rush says they ain't got it. Bunch of names on that coaching staff, not a lot of real substance. And that's all I'm going to say about Miami for the rest of this one. We're going to get out of here soon. Let me read the rest of these comments. We went over, so the win over Clemson means nothing. Who won over Clemson? What y'all talking about? I'm not sure. Not sure what y'all talking about on that one. 33-24, FSU Fitz misses 2 extra points. They better not put up 30. If they lose 4 more games, do you think the class falls apart a little bit? That's going to happen too. Again, that's Willie Taggart 2.0. Recruiting was looking amazing for us, wasn't it, when Willie first came over? Then Willie started losing football games, and what happened to our recruiting? And I said I wasn't going to talk about that crap no more, but you asked. I'll take 9. POLK, I just hate the way we play with the DBs. We do a lot of shadowing and should be playing receivers tight and stop giving up QB to easy throws. Well, I'll say this, Anthony. If you look at what they're doing defensively, they don't quite have, I don't believe they have the kind of guys that they want across that secondary quite yet. I've said this before. If you look at the guys, the type of guys they're recruiting, long 6'1", 6'2", 6'3" DBs, long and rangy. We still have guys like a Reedy Vance and a Kevin Knowles, right? So I think they're trying to use guys to the best of their skill sets. And I'm not sure we have a bunch of man-to-man type guys. AZ, sure, he may be one, and maybe a couple other guys. I think they're kind of just playing to the strengths of the DBs that we currently have. And if you actually look at what's happened, it works, right? Like what we did against Wake worked if you had stopped the run. If you had stopped the run, what you did on the back end was good enough to win you the football game. Problem is they ran the ball better against us than they had ran the ball against Liberty and these other schools. So then all of a sudden it was like, oh. So that's just my take on that, Anthony. POLK, don't forget how Steele tried to sabotage our room here. He was a snake in that grass, but they forgot we don't know about Steele. They're going to go through what every transition goes through, but they had a top 15 talent roster. They'll be bleeding talent, and the talent is the only reason they promised a quick turnaround. Miami missing Rhett. Dave Clawson tried to throw some shade on FSU program last week, talking about how hopefully they have a place for us to stay. And yeah, I remember him saying those things. We love Charlie Strong at the Ville. I'm pretty sure you do. I would too. Third downs were brutal. And the guy who said, so the Clemson win means nothing, he was referring to the tiebreaker question from the other guy. But the tiebreaker thing is going to be who also beats who, you know, assuming we go 11-1, which I don't think would happen. Oh no, man! ACC Atlantic could be for interest. Florida State take care of their part. You could have an interesting kind of 3-team robin there of who could make the ACC championship. Because again, Clemson's already beat Wake and NC State, but Wake and NC State have to play each other. Florida State can take care of NC State and maybe Clemson. Like all these teams might be having 2 losses to each other. It's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. Wake and us would have 1 loss each. They have the head-to-head. So in a situation where, Wake and Florida State would have somehow end up on top, they would have the tiebreaker there. Despite the fact that we would beat Clemson, and then if we were to beat Clemson, it wouldn't matter because they would have the head-to-head. if we beat both Clemson and NC State, we would need all we would need is for NC State to beat Wake or Louisville to beat Wake or something like that. Yeah, we would need Wake to lose another game. Absolutely. ACC Atlantic's not a joke, man. ACC Atlantic is not a joke. Vassal with the $50 bomb at the end of the stream. Oh, he says, thanks for the hat, my brother. Absolutely. You won the hat. That's why I sent it. Fitty Bones. He just paid for the hat and didn't have to. Actually, the hat wasn't even that much, but shout out to Vassell with the $50. That came out of nowhere, man. I appreciate you just as much as you appreciate the hat. Let's go.
Clickety clank, clickety clank. The money goes into my piggy bank.
And on that note, we are going to get up out of here. It is that time. So as always, as we close this thing out, like I said, 27-20. I got Florida State this weekend. I feel pretty good. I just think we are just a lot better team to play. We're just a lot better team top to bottom this year. So I got FSU 27-20. And as always, guys, hit that like button. If you did not hit the like button on the way in, hit that like button on the way out. Subscribe if you are not subscribed to the channel. By all means, subscribe. Continue to share the videos as we continue to grow the community. That's how we get 70 people in the chat. Y'all know how we do on these weekends. We have way over 100 people in these chats on the weekends. Well, that's how we do it because y'all share the videos and people come over here, they see what we do and they want to be a part of it. They like what we do. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share the videos. As always, it's your boy POLK, a.k.a. A-Lope, a.k.a. the goddamn truth. Stay classy, Seminoles, and we at ya. Go Noles, big weekend. I like us for the win. And y'all already know, win, lose, or draw. Y'all know where we at. We right here on 863 Seminole TV. Who has the best game? Good point. You got me. Almost clicked off, but you got it. We've been doing it every week, so we're going to do it this week. What wide receiver is stepping up? I'm going to say Johnny Wilson is this week's wide receiver. I think NC State going to think that they can play him one-on-one, and Jordan Travis and Johnny going to make them pay. I got Johnny over 100-yard game this week. Somebody said McLean. I would love it to be McLean. I think it's going to be Johnny. But all right, guys, I'm out here. Have a good rest of your night.